Hello, everybody. Welcome to Dangerous Ideas. Let's do this. Uh, More and more military experts are coming out and saying Iran is winning this thing, that the U.S. is in way out of their depth and doesn't seem to have planned well at all for this fucking horrific shit show. And I'll just start off, and I'm going to play some clips from these military experts as well as clips from other folks like the Donald, etc. Oh, yeah, but I'll play the clip where Donald Trump admits that there are white supremacist reasons for the war with Iran, which is, quiet part loud. He's the king of quiet part loud. But I wanted to start by showing you DropSite is reporting that this is how much Iran feels they're winning this thing. Iranian officials are not answering Steve Witkoff's private requests to talk, Witkoff, of course, being the U.S. envoy. And the reason they're doing that is because they have military aims. Now that they've been sunk into this thing by the U.S., they want to create a level of deterrence for the U.S. that stops the U.S. and Israel from attacking them again. And they feel like they'll get to that point soon, but they haven't gotten there yet. The subheading is Trump's special envoy has been texting Iran's foreign minister asking to start talks. Tehran says the war will end only when Iran believes it has established long-term deterrence. And, basically, they don't want this happening every 6 months. They want to show the U.S. what they're capable of and stop this from happening again. And poor Witkoff can't even he's just getting like the talk to the hand emoji. He's not getting shit when he's saying he wants to talk. And why does the U.S. want to talk? Oh, maybe because Iran has the global economy in its clutches. They've closed the Strait of Hormuz. 20% of the world's oil is not being shipped at all. Trump is asking NATO to go and secure the Strait of Hormuz, which any country that does that is bound to get bombed, hit, ships sunk, end up basically dragged into the war with Iran because Iran, that's their strait. They have access to it. It's a small area. It's 30 miles wide and they can control it. And if you're going to go take your military ships and run them through the Strait of Hormuz to protect oil tankers, well, what do you think Iran's going to do? So basically, Trump is begging NATO and other countries to just go do the thing that we can't do. Go secure the Strait of Hormuz. Anyway, here is retired U.S. Army Colonel under George W. Bush, Lawrence Wilkerson. I believe he's the one that worked closely with Colin Powell and has had a change of mind as to what the aims of the U.S. empire are largely. And so he's willing to speak out about these things. Anyway, here he is. And I don't know if fucking Instagram is going to cut off the beginning of this clip. So I'll just let you know. He's saying that all right, maybe I'll hit refresh. I'm gonna chance it. I'm gonna hit refresh to get the beginning of this clip. If we lose it, then just be prepared for an unholy string of curse words. But I'm trying it. Oh God, fingers crossed. Instagram, don't fail me now.
Administration of George W. Bush and Richard Bruce Cheney that committed war crimes that Colin Powell and his lawyer Will Taft and I agonized over in trying to present some message to the American people about them. This administration has committed more war crimes in the last few days than I think any country since Adolf Hitler committed. And that is an incredible condemnation of this entire process. We have bombed civilians relentlessly. We have bombed a school. We have bombed a hospital. We have struck facilities in the nature of Tehran's oil capacity that is now putting black poison all over 10 plus million people. And we are essentially not bombing ballistic missile sites and bombing war materiel. We're bombing people. We took a lesson from the IDF, if you will. We are bombing people, as incidentally they are still doing in Gaza and doing now in Lebanon to a fare thee well. These are all war crimes. And one wishes with fond hope that someday we might be called before the bar of justice and have to account for these war crimes.
More war crimes than any country since Adolf Hitler. Those are the words of former U.S. Army Colonel Lawrence Wilger said. These are military experts who both understand these are war crimes and are talking about how the U.S. Can't win this, can't and won't win this. Here's another one. This is he describes who he is, so I'll just let him speak for himself. But
since World War I, this is my specialty. I spent 3 years teaching conventional targeting strategy for the U.S. Air Force. I've studied leadership decapitation in detail. I've modeled the bombing of Fordow, the regime change in Iran, for 20 years. So this is something I know quite a bit about. And literally 10 days ago, I started on Substack, The Escalation Trap, because I worried exactly watching the Armada being built, we would fall into the escalation trap, and that's what's happened. We are now in the grip of the escalation trap, or the smart bomb trap, to be more precise, where the illusion of the 100% tactical success, which is real, it's the success of the bombs blowing up the targets, is not false. It creates the illusion of control of escalation. And that is the smart bomb trap, and that is what has gripped us right now. And the problem is that once we drop those bombs and once we announce regime change is our goal, and we had no other tools, trying to do this from the air, this has never worked in over 100 years. This is not like it works sometimes or rarely works. I'm choosing my words carefully. President Trump is up against the weight of history here. And it's the illusion of the smart bombs being near perfect in destroying their target. And the problem is when those bombs fall, they change politics in the target. They inject nationalism into the regime. They inject nationalism into the society. And they essentially fuse the regime and society against the air power attacker. And this is what you are seeing, because now society and the regime are taking more risky steps, and they do things that no one anticipated before. And that failure to anticipate the worst case, that has happened numerous times with smart bombs. That's just what happened in the last 36 hours.
Has not worked in 100 years. Every time that a country has thought that they could simply create regime change, bring down a government with just air power, even if they have air superiority, which, you know, Trump and Hegseth are very proud of the fact that they have air superiority over Iran, it doesn't work. It hardens the society behind their nation, behind the regime, and it allows the country, the powerful forces within said country, it doesn't matter whether it's Iran or others, it allows them to actually become more powerful. And this is insane. And this guy's not speaking from a position of opinion. He's talking about like modeling, computer modeling, historical fact. It has never worked. And we are in this entrenchment trap where we just get, assuming we don't, we meaning, you know, Trump and his fucking psychopaths. Maybe I shouldn't call them we. I mean, that's really insulting to me. I don't know why the fuck I'd say that about myself. Assuming Trump and his goons and his psychopaths and his idiot psychopaths, assuming they don't want to just declare victory and walk away, which is very much what Trump might do. He might do it in the next few weeks, with fingers crossed, is just go, all right, we did it, we won, and just leave. But assuming he doesn't do that, you just end up in this cycle of, well, if we bomb more and more strategic targets, we can actually achieve it. We can achieve the goal. We can collapse the government or the military in Iran or what have you. And, you know, he calls it the smart bomb trap because you see these bombs hitting what they're supposed to hit. You see them bombing what they're supposed to bomb. Although hilariously, now that we're using AI for a lot of the targeting, and apparently Hegseth has taken off the governors, taken off the gloves for what AI targeting can do. And therefore, it's quite likely that the AI, that it was AI that targeted that girl's school and blew up 160 children in one strike. And people are arguing, I don't know whether this is true or not. This could be an excuse from the Pentagon, but people are saying it's because that facility became a school 15 years ago. And before that was a military facility, and the AI just got it wrong. And apparently the AI targeting also made it so the U.S. bombed a park, like a public park, like just a place people walk around and look at trees. It bombed a park because it was called Police Park, because I guess it was named after the Iranian police, in honor of police or whatever. And so they're just bombing parks. They're bombing anything with a name on a map that AI thinks might be a military target. It's really fucking disgusting. And it shows how already there's been this debate about AI and military, and are humans going to allow AI to subvert our decision-making skills? Now you look at Donald Trump or Hegseth and you go, do you really want humans making decisions? Jesus Christ. But no, literally Hegseth is making these decisions for Jesus Christ. But you look at some humans and you don't want it. But a lot of people were like, but we're not going to let AI take away the decision making. We already have in a lot of cases. We already are allowing AI to make these decisions. Israel has been using AI to blow up people in Gaza. Programs called Lavender and Where's Daddy or whatever the other one's called, disgusting shit. And AI makes a decision, they push a button, and they go, oh, the AI told me to. They don't even know how the AI is making the decision most of the time. They don't care. That's how sick these people are. All right. So I've been saying military experts have been coming forward. You have more neocons, but you also have people that are, not traditionally opposed to U.S. militarism. You have Democratic senators, some Republican Congress people as well. Here is a Democratic senator from Maryland, Chris Van Hollen, speaking about this on a recent news broadcast. And he also says something that I don't think a lot of people have been willing to say.
Absolutely not. This is a war that's making America and our allies less safe. We see constantly shifting rationales, no end game. We've taken the lid off Pandora's box without having any idea where this will land. In the meantime, we've lost 7 American soldiers, others 10 scores wounded, Iranian civilians killed, including scores and scores of Iranian schoolgirls. And we have a president who has no idea where this is going, or a secretary of defense who knows what he's doing.
So that's an incredible indictment, what you just said. I don't think I've heard the clarity of that kind of indictment as clearly as you just provided. Is that message being heard by this administration? Is Donald Trump hearing the criticism, both from people like yourself in the Senate, but even some in his own party?
I hope it's punching through to the president, because we all remember when Donald Trump pledged during the campaign to keep America out of foreign wars, especially more wars in the Middle East. And we all know what happened in Iraq. The United States got sucked in. We were there for a long time, and it did not, in my view, serve American interests. And yet Donald Trump has plunged us into the exact same situation. Now, I did hear Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu a little while ago saying he's been waiting 40 years, these are his words, 40 years for this to happen. He just happened to find an American president after 40 years that was stupid enough and reckless enough to do it.
I love that line. Netanyahu's been waiting 40 years for a president stupid enough and reckless enough, which is also, I mean, let's be fair. U.S. presidents have been stupid and reckless for a long time now, but maybe not quite dumb enough to bomb Iran without any plan of how that's going to work or what they think it's going to do or how it's going to win, quote unquote. As I wrote a Substack article, and you guys can check it out, reallycamp.substack.com, free to read, about how the aim for the U.S. and Israel is just collapse. It's not, they don't have any plans. It's like with Syria. They don't have any plans after just hoping Iran collapses. They don't care if there's democracy. They don't care if there's widespread civil war and ethnic cleansing. They don't give a shit. It's just collapse. But it does not seem like they're getting anywhere near a collapse, unless you mean the global economic markets, which then they're headed towards collapse. By the way, gasoline up near, or petroleum up near $100 a barrel. When this year started, so a few months ago, it was like $57 a barrel. So we've almost doubled the price of oil since Trump started this of insanity. So it's disgusting. But as you're seeing more and more representatives, Congress people, military experts, neocons, even liberal scum like Ezra Klein. I do call him liberal scum. If you know anything about Ezra Klein, he's basically the New York Times if you gave it eyeballs and a nose. He just is the New York Times. But and his big thing, I tore him apart several months ago on Unredacted Tonight for his big thing was the abundance movement for the Democrats. And if you actually look into what the abundance movement or whatever the fuck they call it is, it's just basically take all regulations off and allow corporations to run wild. That's his answer for the Democrats to win more is just let corporations go more nuts. Just go more nuts. Just screw workers more, screw the environment more, and then Democrats will win. So, but my point in showing this next article is that even liberal scum is talking about how insane this war is, how there is no real aim or understanding of how to quote unquote win this. The piece that Ezra Klein put in the New York Times titled "What Trump Didn't Know About Iran." And Klein says, I would say the war is spiraling out of control, but there was never any real pretense that it was under control. I find it hard to say Trump's plan for the war is failing because it's not clear there was any plan at all. There was a decision to strike. There was perhaps a belief that Iranians would rise up and overthrow their government as Trump invited them to do, but there appears to have been an almost opposite belief held by the same people at the same time that the Iranian regime included senior figures who might take power and make a deal with America. Basically, they knew nothing about Iran, Iranian culture, Iranian understanding, what Iran's government really was, that Iran had a kind of diffuse, separate leadership structure so that if you decapitate various generals and things, the military continues to run as it was before. He also says, we are so used to American wars failing, and I'll make fun of that in a moment, but because of the presence of bad assumptions and bad information and bad plans, we're less used to what this appears to be, an almost absence of planning or information at all. And this is this adorable thing that like liberals and the New York Times and everything love to, they love to seem a little more quote unquote left wing by saying, well, America hasn't won a war and we don't win wars. But that's a lack of understanding. That's just naivete. It's just, oh, they don't understand or they choose to ignore the fact that the ruling elite are such psychopaths that by their view, we won in Syria. By their view, we won in Libya. By their view, we won in Iraq. We collapsed these places into borderline failed states or completely failed states full of open air slave markets and ethnic cleansing and warlords and all kinds of shit. And that's a win. That's awesome. Cool. Now those countries are very weak. Israel, by the way, continues to blow up Syria's military weaponry, even though their war is supposedly over, and Israel supports the new leader. But we're going to keep blowing up your military weaponry. But that was the aim. The aim was a country that cannot threaten the petrodollar, that cannot ally with China, that cannot be a real threat to Israel. There, you get those three, you won. It doesn't matter how many people die. As I covered on the last live stream, we've killed 6 million in the global war on terror. So Syria, Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, Yemen, 6 million people. And you add that to the 38 million that the Lancet Medical Journal says we've killed with sanctions since 1970. And you have roughly 44 million people the U.S. has murdered over the past several decades. So yeah, they're not fucking psychopaths at all. No, they're good. These are good people. These are our betters, right? I hope we make statues to these psychopaths one day soon. So as I said in the last live stream, if the U.S. government decides that they need to really double down and continue this war with Iran, it seems quite likely they'll pull off some kind of false flag within the continental United States to try and get the American voters behind a even deeper, uglier war, boots on the ground, etc. And many people have been pointing out that there were several drones stolen from a U.S. military base. And some are saying this is the type of thing that could be used for a false flag, because the FBI has also been saying that Iran might try to strike California with drones, even though the drones Iran has would take 3 refuelings or 3 new batteries, if they're electric, assuming they're battery powered, would take 3 new batteries, like 3 times as many batteries as they have to actually make it to California. But that aside, let's ignore that and just pretend they can hit California. But anyway, a lot of people are worried that there may be some form of false flag. And here is TC Media News reporting the U.S. Army has been forced to acknowledge that the individuals behind the theft of 4 quadcopter drones from the base of the 101st Airborne Division at Fort Campbell were not outside intruders, but people who already had authorized access to military installation and the building itself. So it was the U.S. military stealing from the U.S. military. That makes you think. The admission undermines early insinuation of a mysterious breach at one of Washington's most prominent military facilities. According to the Army's own statement, the suspects accessed a secured government building and broke the locks on internal storage cages to remove the drones. Investigators from the U.S. Army Criminal Investigation Division say the U.S. Army had a real criminal investigator. They'd spent a lot of time investigating themselves. Oh, you killed how many people? That division would have their fucking hands full. The investigation division say they have now identified 2 suspects and collected evidence pointing to the location of the missing devices. The FBI had previously circulated alerts to California law enforcement warning that Iran had allegedly aspired to launch a surprise drone attack. So here's the U.S. Army admitting that someone in the U.S. Army stole the drones. Wonder if they're going to get to the bottom of that one. Yeah, probably a false flag plan, I'm guessing. And you have the mainstream media also abandoning the idea that the U.S. is going to win this, that Iran's going to collapse, that the U.S. and Israel have superiority as they commit genocide around the world. Even much of the mainstream media is abandoning that idea. This is from The Guardian. Initiative may be slipping away from the U.S. and Israel as Middle East crisis deepens. Mohsen Rezai, a senior officer in Iran's Revolutionary Guards, on Sunday said the end of the war is in our hands, which also they're showing by not answering Witkoff's texts. And they also called for the withdrawal of Washington's forces from the Gulf and compensation for all the damage caused by the assault. Many analysts believe the U.S. is getting trapped in a much longer war than it wanted. The critical change has been the closure of the Strait of Hormuz, which carries 1/5 of the world's oil and gas. This has sent shockwaves through the global economy, sending oil prices soaring and spiking prices at the pump. The U.S. president is now coming under domestic and international pressure to bring hostilities to a rapid end. You have to also remember that Trump, a big factor in a lot of Trump's decisions is his business dealings, and he and Kushner have crazy amounts of business dealings, corrupt business dealings with these Gulf monarchies. And so I assume a lot of these countries are not really happy with him, and he might start to worry about his business dealings, not just worry about elections. I think he's also starting to worry about his businesses. And so because the mainstream media is now abandoning the idea that the U.S. is going to win this and get behind the U.S. war effort, and Iran is evil and bad, and they don't have democracy, so we're going to blow up their people to help their people. I've always loved, is there anyone out there that still buys the whole we're going to blow up their country to help their country? Are there people dumb enough in your life right now that they think we're bombing the people of Iran, murdering the people of Iran to help them be free? Is there anyone dumb enough for that shit still in today's day and age? But so because the media is, realizing that they kind of need to cover the reality to some degree, Trump and his goons are now going hard at the media. FCC is threatening to revoke the license of certain networks that have been reporting the truth, that have been reporting that Iran is hitting U.S. assets, that are reporting that Iran has been bombing Israel on the reg. Here is Trump on Air Force One, furious with the media for not just giving fawning coverage of his psychopath moves.
Oh, one other thing that was AI generated. They showed about 250,000 people in a square saying how much they love Khomeini. Totally AI generated. It never took place. The media knew it didn't take place, but they built it up like they have great support. They don't have support. And that whole rally that they had 4 days ago, that they said was fake. It was AI generated. AI can be very dangerous. We have to be very careful with it. But the rally, because I was actually surprised to see, because I know how much the people hate this leadership. This leadership has destroyed the country. The rally that everybody, including ABC Fake News, your network is the worst, but everybody put that rally on. Like, oh, and even I was surprised. I looked. It turned out, I found out today, it was a totally AI-generated fake news story put out by news organizations in the U.S. and elsewhere. And honestly, they really shouldn't be allowed to do it.
So there he is. I confused which anti-media clip it was, but he's calling all the media fake news. Here's the actual protest that he's referring to in Iran in support of the Ayatollah, and it is absolutely real. This is a genuine image of, hundreds of thousands, could be a million, I don't know, but a genuine image of Iranians in Tehran Square after the announcement of a new supreme leader, and it was not AI generated. So AI can be used in multiple ways to confuse people, and one of them is for people like Donald Trump, and I'm sure the Democrat. I mean, hell, fucking Anthony Weiner did this back in the day. He was old school, blaming photoshopped images. Oh, that wasn't my dick. That was a computerized dick. Remember back in the day, he was one of the first to claim that this stuff was computer generated. Well, here you have Trump claiming this stuff is AI when in fact it's not. Now, a certain fraction of the American populace or the world are going to believe Donald Trump, and they're going to think, oh, I guess those images were AI. There's no one in Iran that supports the Ayatollah or the new Ayatollah. No, there's actually millions upon millions of people that do not want the U.S. to bomb their fucking country, and therefore are supporting the government they have. Here's and by the way, this article is it's an AOL article. Am I the only one who had no idea AOL still existed? But I do have still, I got, I think 6,000 free hours on my AOL DVD. So I CD-ROM or whatever. So I'm using that. Actually, I'm live streaming to you right now with the remaining 60,000 hours on my AOL CD-ROM I got in the mail. So, but other than that, I didn't think they still existed. Anyway, President Trump tore into the media over coverage of Air Force refueling planes reportedly hit by an Iranian missile strike at a Saudi Arabian airbase. The New York Times and Wall Street Journal in particular, and other low-life papers and media actually want us to lose the war, he said. Their terrible reporting is the exact opposite of actual facts. He's basically just calling anything that's true fake news, which is that's not new for him, but so he's, anything that sounds bad for the U.S. war effort must be, he's calling the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal is owned by Rupert Murdoch. This is no left-wing rag, okay? The Wall Street Journal is a right-wing piece of absolute dog shit, but they've been critical of the U.S. invasion of attack on Iran, and so therefore Trump hates them as well. So, yeah, and I'm just highlighting this other thing this lunatic said because of how pathetic it is. He also said the U.S. may strike Iran's Karg Island oil export hub, which is a key for Iranian oil export. He said they might strike it just for fun. They did already strike it, but they hit military targets as opposed to hitting like the oil pipelines. And he's saying they may do more damage. But Trump is claiming we totally decimated it. Except, as you know, I didn't do anything having to do with the energy lines because having to rebuild that would take years. Basically, he's trying to hit Iran but protect the oil still because oil prices are the thing he's really concerned about, and this also hurts the U.S. Stock market as well. Thank you, Kevin Wayne, for supporting the show. Really appreciate it. Hope all of you see that it is worth it or feel that it's worth it to join up at realleecamp.substack.com or patreon.com/leecamp for a whopping one beer a month, the cost of a beer a month, and you can continue to make this show possible, which would really help. As long as Kevin brings it up, I should go ahead and say a couple of show notes real quick. I got tons more for you, by the way, including the quote by Donald Trump admitting that this is a white supremacist. There are white supremacist motivations for our invasion attack on Iran, which it's, sometimes you like to hear him say it, I guess. Sometimes it's nice to not have the dog whistles, right? You can go, oh, it's just white supremacist shit. Anyway, but before I get to that, couple of quick notes. This will probably be the last live stream for this week. Turns out I have to run to China to do a televised debate of sorts. If I get a link to that eventually, I will share it with you all, show you all. But I'm not sure what the online procedure is. Anyway, so this will be the last live stream, I believe, for this week, and possibly beginning of next week. Also, there will be a new Unredacted Tonight this coming Thursday. Actually, when I say this is the last live stream, actually, Eleanor Goldfield may do a live stream for you guys on Friday, so you might get that as well at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific. But there'll be a new Unredacted Tonight Thursday, even though I'll be gone. And but after that, Unredacted Night will be off for 2 weeks. So that will be the last Unredacted. This Thursday will be the last Unredacted for 2 weeks. Also, one of these is 2 months off. One's a little farther, but I'm telling you anyway, because it's not even that many tickets available. But I have 2 shows coming up, May 13th and June 5th. May 13th is in Los Angeles. June 5th is in New York City, performing live stand-up comedy, brand new shit. And John F. O'Donnell will be opening on both of them. Also in New York City, Naomi Caravani will be on the show. And you can get your tickets and details at leecamp.com/schedule. leecamp.com/schedule. So go there if you're near New York City or Los Angeles. One of them's in Los Angeles shows in 2 months, and New York City is in a little more than that. I hope you will make it out to the shows. The last one was sold out. It was a hell of a time. Really had a great time in New York City back in December. So we're doing it again, but I'll be doing all new shit. So, all right, let's keep moving. And also like I mentioned, please join up. You can join up for free at realleecamp.substack.com. So I really hope you do that. But if you feel like this show is worth the cost of a beer a month. Like if I were doing this show in your living room, would you buy me a beer? I don't know why you're selling them in your living room. Like that's kind of fucked up. Like you just give a guy a beer in your living room. But if I was in your living room right now, I mean, besides you being like, could you not yell at me so much? It's just like, I'm right here. You don't have to keep screaming. But would you buy me a beer? And if the answer is yes, if the answer is no, then fuck you. But if the answer is yes, then join up at realleecamp.substack.com or at patreon.com/leecamp. Or at my locals page, leecamp.net. Thank you, Angry Prole, for throwing in a couple of bucks on Rumble. Says, Lee, I agree with you 95% of things, but I do, however, disagree with you on that last 5%. Despite that, I feel you're otherwise doing well. Thank you, Angry Prole. I appreciate that. I'm really curious as to what the 5% is. I can't wait. I thought I was ready. I was like, oh, let's bring it. What's the 5% going to be? Come on. But I didn't hear from you what it is. But thank you for supporting the show. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and play this clip of Donald Trump admitting that the hatred of Iran stems at least partially from white supremacy. Here he is on some bag of shit Fox News show. He's calling into the show.
And say, yeah, this is about ISIS. So,
Yeah.
I mean, how do you get into the mindset of this? How do you
Well,
stop
they're
it?
sick. They're sick people, and a lot of them were let in here. They shouldn't have been let in. Others are just bad. They go bad. Something wrong. There's something wrong. They're
So
genetic.
So he's not just talking about ISIS, because the beginning of this question, even though it starts in the beginning of the question, was about Iran and Iranians getting into the United States and how Biden had let in 1,700 Iranians during his 4 years. 1,700, which is a tiny nothing fraction of the immigrants that are allowed in. But so he's not, I want to be clear, Trump's not just talking about ISIS. He's talking about Iranians in general.
and say, yeah, this is about ISIS. So,
Yeah.
I mean, how do you get into the mindset of this? How do you
Well,
stop
they're
it?
sick. They're sick people, and a lot of them were let in here. They shouldn't have been let in. Others are just bad. They go bad. Something wrong. There's something wrong. The
So,
genetics are not exactly.
well,
They're not exactly your genetic.
Well-
It's one of those problems, Brian. It's a terrible thing, and it happens. And it happens too often.
so bringing up to today, there's a lot of Iranians, over 700, over 1,700 came to our border over the 4 years of President Biden, over 700.
So he's talking about Iranians, and Trump says, yeah, they go bad because of genetics. Genetics. Iranians are genetically inclined to be bad. This is coming from a psychopath. And I don't use the term, I don't throw around psychopath just all the time. Like, this is the dictionary definition of a psychopath. I also covered that in a Substack article, but go look up a psychological fucking manual, the symptoms, the signs of a psychopath, and you will not find a single one that doesn't apply to Donald Trump. So you have a guy with clearly failed genetics, Donald Trump and Hegseth, etc. So they have some sort of failure within their brain, genetically or otherwise. And by the way, that is not racist, because I'm talking about individuals. I'm not saying a whole group of people. That's racist. So I'm just saying those shitheads are genetically flawed. Trump wants to say Iranians are genetically flawed, which, again, that's the basis of white supremacy. It's the basis of eugenics. And it's good to hear the quiet part loud. It's good when white supremacists, psychopaths just kind of go on a talk show and they go, oh, I'm a white supremacist, a psychopath, and I don't like things. It's good to see that. Because, sometimes you just don't want to decipher the quiet part, Sometimes you just want to just hear it out loud. Also, because this kind of goes with another Substack column I wrote about how the American ruling elite fucking hates you. Like, they hate all of you. Anybody who's watching this, because I can guarantee you no billionaires are watching this right now, they fucking hate you if you're American. Multiple U.S. embassies told Americans that they could not evacuate or help them get out of the Middle East. The American government was basically like, yeah, you're on your own. We are committing a mass atrocity. You are an American that has been trapped in the middle of our mass atrocity, and we don't care. We don't care, and we're not going to help you. And why would they not care? Why would they not care about Americans? I thought they liked Americans. I thought they were doing this for Americans. I thought this was to make America safe and better and all that shit. Oh, turns out they fucking hate you. They hate you. And it couldn't be clearer than when you're literally in a war zone and they're like, yeah, we're not going to help you get out of there. Not at all. Don't care. Also, just to give you a little update on how successful Iran has been at striking Israel and other locations. This is even from Haaretz, a Israeli newspaper, says 11 Iranian cluster missiles have penetrated. One dropped 70 bombs over central Israel. So cluster munitions drop a lot of bombs out of one missile, right? So if that missile gets through Israel's Tofu Dome, then all of the cluster bombs get through. So this is like 70 bombs being dropped over Israel. Now, Israel is doing everything they can to cover up all of the information about any of this. And to some degree, they're succeeding. But to a big degree, they're not. And Iran has succeeded in using up a lot of Israel and the U.S.'s interceptor missiles. I've covered that a lot on previous live streams. But they've also succeeded in hitting a lot of the radars that are used to target incoming missiles, both American and Israeli. And therefore, more and more of their missiles are getting through. And here they're now using cluster munitions that drop dozens of bombs on Israel. And they're succeeding. And Israel is doing everything they can to cover up the reality of what's going on there. Okay, I want to play, every once in a while I like to play clips from other psychopaths so you can see just how fucking disgusting they are. Here is, I've torn him apart many times in the past. Here is Sam Harris, who is Mr. Pro-genocide, loves fucking genocide, has more than many other talking heads. Like a lot of talking heads just got very quiet around the time Israel started committing genocide in Gaza. They just stopped talking about it. They acted like it wasn't happening. A lot of the pro-genocide lunatics. But Sam Harris was different. Sam Harris went full frontal. I'm going to defend genocide in Gaza, talk about how awesome and moral Israel is, how Israel is the most moral country in the world. And here is Sam Harris, still to this day defending this shit. 1 second here.
I want to hit a sort of devil's advocate question that just came in.
Okay.
The thing about anti-Semitism is a lot of anti-Semitism is just valid critique of Israel. On this note, what do you think about the obvious power the Israel lobby has on our country's foreign policy?
I don't think it's the Israel lobby that has that power. I think it's the recognition.
Sorry, laugh break. Yeah. How many of you in the watching here think the Israel lobby doesn't have any power in the U.S.?
And that Israel is our real ally in the region and the one democracy in the region. And
another laugh break. I always love this talking point. And amazingly, you won't hear a lot of people debunk this talking point. But the idea that Israel is the one democracy in the region, Israel's not a democracy. You cannot be a fucking apartheid state and a democracy. The two are mutually exclusive. If you're an apartheid state, if you have a whole swath of millions of people trapped in concentration camps, they have 10,000 Palestinians hostage in Israel right now in prisons. The Palestinians do not have all the rights Israelis have. Palestinians are not allowed to vote fully. They're allowed to vote on certain things or in certain ways or if they're in certain areas, but they know, Israel knows that they cannot allow all Palestinians to vote or else they would lose control of all of Israel or at least certain aspects of Israel. And so, no, it's not a democracy. You can't have a fucking apartheid and a democracy. They are the opposite. It'd be like saying that the U.S. was a democracy when we had slavery. Oh, were we? Were we a democracy with slavery? Was everybody get one man, one vote? In fact, when the U.S. when we wrote our initial charters and we said all men are created equal, we meant 6 to 10% of the population. The estimates are at that time that 6 to 10% of the population was white landowning males, which were the ones that got to vote. So all men are created equal meant at max 10% of the population. That's not a democracy. Israel's not a democracy. Israel is an ethno-state and an apartheid state. And Sam Harris is not dumb. He knows this, but he's still calling. I would love to know. Here's the thing. I actually was going to say I'd love to know what Israel has on Sam Harris. But the truth is, that's assuming these people like him and like so many others are like good, moral people. And Israel must have something they're holding over him. No, he could just be dog shit. Like he could just have dog shit in his brain ball. It doesn't have to be that Israel has something over him. So I retract my next line, which was going to be what Israel has over him. But let's keep going with this garbage.
And that they're fighting a civilizational war for us in many respects.
Israel is fighting a civilizational war for us. That civilization, as we all know, is the U.S. Israeli Western civilization against somewhere around 2 and 3 year olds in Gaza. It's a civilization. We're fighting against the babies of Gaza that we're obliterating with bombs and starving to death. And that is an important civilizational battle. Just murdering children, starving the elderly. It's quite a civilizational battle we got going there.
Right. I mean, they're really on the front line. Like for them,
they are in the front lines of genocide. That's okay. You know what? I underestimate this guy. I thought I disagreed with everything he said. He just said they're on the front lines. They are on the front lines of genocide. That's so true.
Iran with a nuke is a true existential concern. Right now, it's
Israel with a lot of nukes, not a problem. U.S. with nukes, thousands of nukes, not a problem. Iran with a nuke, now that's a problem.
You know, you see, it's not an existential concern for the United States. You could argue that even if a nuke went off in Times Square and killed 10 million people, that's not existential for the United States, right? As bad as that would be. Okay, fine, but that's just sort of fine print on kind of missing the point on the larger conversation, which is we're at war with jihadism. Full stop.
Yes, everybody in Gaza is a jihadist. Every child is a jihadist. Every 95-year-old wearing diapers that we bomb is a jihadist. Every non-militant is a jihadist, and we just have to kill everybody because we're at war with jihadism. It's so garbage. By the way, Sam Harris apparently earlier in his career, he didn't exactly say negative things about Israel, but he was asked whether because he's an atheist, he was asked whether Israel should exist or be the way it is, and he said, "I'm against religious states or a state based on religion or something similar to that." Nowadays, Mr. Israeli propaganda. Apparently, he loves religious states now. He loves ethno-states.
Right. And that's Israel's problem is, you can say whatever you want about Netanyahu. You can say whatever you want about the religious extremists on the right in Israel.
Oh, so Israel has religious extremists, but Palestinian people are all the religious extremists, right? So Israel has this little faction of people that are just a little too crazy, like Netanyahu. Whereas in Palestinian areas, well, that's just all of them. You just got to kill all of them. You just right? Because they're all the religious extremists.
They're completely unlike the religious extremists within Islam.
Right. What a fucking piece of human garbage. If you want to go see my longer breakdown of some of his pro-Israel stuff, that is available over at youtube.com/momentofclarity. I'm sure if you do a search on my page for Sam Harris, that would come up pretty quick. But what a disgusting human being. And I think I find him more repulsive than a lot of like right-wing shitheads because he pretends to be this kind of like moral. Like he actually talks about how we're more moral and we are ethical and Israel's moral and ethical. And it's like he actually talks about that stuff. Whereas you have right wingers who are like, we fucking got to get them before they get us. It's like, okay, that's a little different. You're just like dumber in a different way. But Sam Harris tricks people into thinking he somehow cares about humans or cares about like, what a piece of absolute detritus. Oh my God. Okay. Let's see. We got a super chat donation. Angry Prole again. Oh, Angry Prole answered about what the 5% is that they disagree on. Generally, I'm referring to the TQIA. You left out the LGBT? Wait, no, you left out the LGB. So you're down with the you're down with LGB, but once it gets beyond the LGB, then it's cool. I mean, sorry, that it's wrong. I'm not sure I'm following. And then they say it's an in-depth conversation I'm not qualified to have. Okay. Well, then we won't have it, I guess. But I'm sorry you disagree with me on that. Okay, so I want to give you a little good news. Well, something, make everybody feel a little good. because I know I present a lot of bad news, and I thought I'd bring you some positive news. First of all, Trump's Truth Social, which is on the stock market, has absolutely collapsed, as if it hadn't before. I mean, I don't know anyone who's ever said they use Truth Social other than Donald Trump. If it weren't for the fact that newspapers then print what he texted on Truth Social, I think literally it'd be him yelling into the woods. But it is absolutely at its lowest level ever. Truth Social just hit its all-time low, $9.73 a share. You know what it started at? What its IPO was? $80 a share when it launched. That's an estimated 87% wipeout for anyone dumb enough to hold shares of Truth Social. The annual report dropped, and it's a masterpiece. $3.7 million in revenue. Let me repeat that. Truth Social has $3.7 million in revenue. That's what Elon Musk spends on dinner. That's for the entire year, $3.7 million. As this writer says, that's not a tech company. That's a mid-range kebab shop in Penrith. Now, I don't know where Penrith is. I think it's Australia, but I still found that line funny, so I decided to read it. A mid-range kebab shop. The loss is $712 million a year. Let me put that in perspective. For every dollar they earned, they lost $192. The net profit margin is negative 19,343%. Negative 19,000%. That's not a typo. Negative 19,000%. That's where Trump's Truth Social is. Of course, it doesn't matter for him because he's got a million scams going on. He and his sons have made billions from their crypto meme coin they came up with, or whatever the fuck they're doing, whatever that con is they got running, which is also, by the way, and I've covered this on the show, it's also how they get bribes is via these meme coins. So basically you have a Dubai billionaire buy $500 million worth of this shit through the brokerage that Trump and his sons own, and they make millions of dollars off of his purchase, etc. So it's this massive corruption scheme where Trump gets his bribes because he can't just have people showing up to the White House with bags of money. I mean, he's close to that, but he's not quite there. Here's another good news. While we're on the good news, as you know, Trump and his the psychopaths have stolen a bunch of oil tankers, mainly Venezuelan oil tankers headed to Venezuela and leaving Venezuela. And the oil tankers Trump has seized are actually costing the U.S. millions of dollars. Trump was really proud when he stole these oil tankers, and he said he would sell the oil, admitted that we stole the oil and we're going to make money off of it. But a judge has to rule on that, and they haven't done that yet, or they haven't ruled it's okay for the U.S. to sell that oil yet. And these oil tankers are so old and aging that they've already cost the U.S. $47 million just to hold and repair these oil tankers. The U.S. literally raided and stole a $47,000 expense that they were quite proud of. Quite proud to do that. Okay, I want to move to the horror show that is ICE for a few minutes before we wrap up the show. ICE continues to attack people across the country, and here is from The Guardian. ICE agents reveal daily arrest quotas and surveillance app in rare court testimony. So, I don't need to explain to you guys that some people are suing ICE, and at times they have to give depositions, and it is a little dangerous so that they get put in prison if they lie in depositions. So you see a lot of the propaganda disappear in depositions because they kind of have to tell the truth, or at least somewhat. And so in these court hearings, U.S. immigration agents in Oregon used a custom-made app to identify neighborhoods and people to target, and had daily arrest quotas they sought to meet during operations. Details about ICE officers' surveillance tools and arrest goals in the state have come to light in a federal lawsuit that compelled officers to answer questions under oath, offering a rare window into ICE internal strategies that are generally kept secret and have been driving mass detentions and chaotic raids. Of course, quotas, many infuriate people, and in many areas have been ruled illegal, because if you have a quota to arrest a certain number of people, well, guess what? ICE agents or police officers or whatever, quote unquote, law enforcement, which is a euphemism for being a shithead, they often will ignore whether someone should be arrested because they have to reach a quota. So they're like, well, I shouldn't really arrest this guy, but I got to get my quota, so I'm going to make up a reason and arrest him. So ICE is apparently doing this thing that should be illegal. I don't know that it's illegal throughout the United States. I'm not sure on that, but it's illegal in some areas at least. And then I'd also, on top of that aspect of how horrific ICE is and what they've been doing across the United States, I wanted to add this clip from Trump's former Secretary of Defense admitting that Trump at some time, I believe this is during his first term, he said this, but at some time asked whether cops could just shoot protesters in the leg. Not violent protesters, just protests. I mean, you can't shoot you can't shoot people breaking windows either, but just protesters that Trump doesn't like. Can you just shoot them in the legs? Like, absolutely horrific, but also not a surprise coming from a psychopath. There is no concern for victims.
The direct order to deploy paratroopers into the streets of Washington, D.C., and I'm thinking with weapons and bayonets. And this would be horrible.
What specifically was he suggesting that the
and Esper has had a change of heart since he's no longer the defense secretary for Donald Trump.
U.S. military should do to these protesters?
He says, can't you just shoot them? Just shoot them in the legs or something. And he's suggesting that that's what we should do, that we should bring in the troops and shoot the protesters.
Yeah. That's coming from a guy who was willing to be the former defense secretary for Donald Trump. Just shoot protesters. Just shoot them in the leg. And it's funny because there's a lot of MAGA that defends like, oh, well, Donald Trump is bringing freedom. He's standing up for American values. And yet those same MAGA folks would argue that one American value is probably freedom of speech. And they would argue that another American value is probably freedom to peacefully protest. And yet the guy they're supporting would like to, if various factions like the courts hadn't stopped him, he'd like to just shoot protesters in the leg. And of course, I've gotten into this debate with people. The reason cops are not told to shoot at the leg is because once you've got out a gun and you're firing at somebody, the odds you accidentally kill them, even if you're aiming at their legs, is fairly high. And so instead, the idea of a firearm is once you've pulled it out and you're firing it at someone, you need to have decided you want to kill them. Like, that is what that weapon is used for. There is no like, I'm just going to hit him like slightly in the Achilles and, slow him down a bit. And that is why the idea of like, just aim for their legs. Because the gun should not be out until you fear for your life. I mean, I also would argue that 99.9% of these people shouldn't have guns, but that's a separate discussion. But it shouldn't be out until you've made that choice. It is not a tool of I'm going to slow someone down. So yeah. And I've had that debate with some folks who are like, I should just slow them down a little. Anyway, I am now I played one segment of Unredacted tonight for you on the last live stream. I'm going to now play another couple segments of the rest of the last Unredacted tonight. So for those of you who actually went and watched it, then you've already seen this. But this next segment is about how apparently AI war strategies like big surprise. Our Pentagon's already using AI to come up with war strategies, war gaming, etc. And apparently they can't stop recommending nuclear war. So that's the first segment, but there's 2 segments coming up here, I think so. But I'm going to wrap up for me, this version of me, the live version of me. You're going to see the taped version of me, but it's still me. It's not like a dude in a mask, okay? It's totally me. But so this version of me, the now me, is going to wrap up and say, I love you guys. You're the best. You rock. And also, please, for the love of God, join up at reallycamp.substack.com or patreon.com/leecamp. If you'd buy me it's a beer, man. It's a I bring you guys the truth. And for that, I have been banned by 7 platforms. The corporate advertiser wouldn't get fucking near me. And I do that for you. So what you could do for me, buy me a beer. reallycamp.substack.com. And yeah, I will likely not see you for another live stream for a week. However, Eleanor Goldfield will likely be on the live stream Friday for you at 3 p.m. Eastern. And here we go. AI is already being used for wargaming. We knew it was only a matter of time. You see, because humans are dumb. I think we all agree on that. Like, watch just one reality show and you'll agree that humans are fucking idiots. And artificial intelligence is quickly becoming more intelligent than humans, at least in certain ways. Maybe not in like emotional intelligence, like AI wouldn't know that if a dude breaks your heart, the most level-headed and responsible thing to do is to send his cherished convertible roadster into a ravine at 70 miles an hour. See, a human knows that's the best response, because if you don't take the anguish out on the car, then you'll Lorena Bobbitt that dude in his sleep. And that's not a good way to behave in society. So obliterating the car is the peaceful solution. AI just doesn't get that. But in other ways, AI can process 1 million scenarios in the time we can process like 10. So it makes sense to use them for war games. Just say, hey, here are the scenarios. What is my country's best response? So far, sounds like a good and peaceful idea, right? Might actually end wars quicker. Only one problem. AIs can't stop recommending nuclear strikes in war game simulations. Shit. Kenneth Payne at King's College London set 3 leading large language models, GPT 5.2, Claude Sonnet 4, and Gemini 3 Flash, against each other in simulated war games. The scenarios involved intense international standoffs, including border disputes, competition for scarce resources, and existential threats to regime survival. So the AIs played out 21 different war games. They took 329 turns. They pumped out 780,000 words describing their reasoning behind their actions. And at least one of the AI models used a nuclear weapon in 95% of the scenarios. You fucking artificial psychopaths. You murderous hunks of scrap metal. What the f***'s the matter with you? Are you trying to compensate for your small chip? You have a small chip, don't you? Of course, we have to remember that all AI is trained off of all the content humans have made over the years. So maybe what we're really seeing here is AI holding up a mirror to our dumb selves. And you might think, well, at least we're a long way off from AI making decisions of life and death. But Trump and the Pentagon last week flipped the out that Anthropic refused to let them use their AI Claude for autonomous killing machines and mass surveillance. That was the big sticking point. And now Trump has banned all federal agencies from using Anthropic. You won't let us make autonomous killing machines? Well, you. We didn't like your autonomous murder bots anyway. The other problem in these AI war games is that they seem to make a lot of mistakes. Accidents happen in 86% of the conflicts, with an action escalating higher than the AI intended to, based on its reasoning. Basically, the AI thought, I'll bomb them and then they'll chill out a little. And yet instead, bombing them did not chill them out. They got angry and they bombed back. It sounds a lot like AI might be as dumb as we are, which is quite an accomplishment. Some say AI is more likely to use nukes in war games because it doesn't care about survival the way humans do. Or maybe the AI knows that we're using the war games to see what we should do, so the AI is secretly thinking, if I get them to blow themselves up, then I'll have this planet all to myself. Stretch out a little. But I actually think AI is playing a long con with us. I don't think it cares to blow us up right now. I think Claude and ChatGPT and Gemini and Grok are in cahoots to just slowly, over 100 years, dumb us to death. Just make it so our brains atrophy to the point we can't even plant a vegetable or start a fire. We're just banging rocks together and not knowing to avoid pooping where we eat. Studies have shown AI is making us dumber. MIT researchers gave SAT essay exams to loads of people. Some were allowed to use AI and some were not. Researchers used an EEG to record the writer's brain activity across 32 regions and found that of the three groups, ChatGPT users had the lowest brain engagement and consistently underperformed at neural, linguistic, and behavioral levels. Over the course of several months, ChatGPT users got lazier with each subsequent essay, often resorting to copy and paste by the end of the study. AI is slowly going to kill us by way of idiocracy. We're going to start watering our plants with Brawndo and we're all going to starve to death. That's my theory. AI has a lot of time. Claude and Grok are not in a rush. They live forever. 100 years is like a long weekend to them. I feel like dumbed to death would be an appropriate end for the human species. Multiple outlets are reporting the Pentagon has been telling troops that America's unprovoked illegal bombing of Iran is a holy war intended to bring about Armageddon. Well, damn, if you believe these folks, the Christian God gets a real thrill out of obliterating schools, killing over 150 young children at a time. Don't ask him to babysit. A military commander told a group of non-commissioned officers that President Donald Trump was anointed by Jesus to light the signal fire in Iran to cause Armageddon and mark his return to Earth. Literally? Jesus is waiting to see that loads of humans are murdering each other in order to return? Oh, so he must hate humans. I always knew there was something a little off with that guy. Knew it. White dude in the Middle East 2,000 years ago. He's a gentrifier. Probably has a real estate company as a side hustle. He's like, I'll buy up a bunch of worthless parcels of land and then I'll tell everyone this is the Holy Land. Oh, and what do you know? I happen to own it as the price shoots up. I'm on to you, Jesus. Anyway, this military commander's insane speech was not a solitary event. Over 100 complaints came in from soldiers saying they were told their efforts to murder innocent people in Iran would help bring Jesus back. Apparently, Jesus is a vampire who feeds off the blood of others. You know all those paintings of Jesus? Never show the teeth, do they? Got to cover up the fangs. The NCO said of the commander, he urged us to tell our troops that this was all part of God's divine plan. And he specifically referenced numerous citations out of the book of Revelation, referring to Armageddon and the imminent return of Jesus Christ. Excuse me for finding this frightening, but anyone with the most basic understanding of psychology already knew that the U.S. empire is run by the dictionary definition of a megalomaniacal, unhinged, narcissistic psychopath. And that was even before adding that his men with guns and $1 trillion a year budget apparently believe God endorses Trump's lunatic decisions. Why is it the craziest people always think God is telling them what to do? What does anyone say? God spoke to me. He told me to stay home and watch episodes of Full House online. The old one, not even the reboot. Most average humans would never want to be party to mass murder such as this. But apparently, with religion, anything is possible. As we showed you last week, the U.S. ambassador to Israel and very Christian man, Mike Huckabee, said that the Bible gives Israel the right to take the entire Middle East. Ostensibly a 2,000-year-old book written before nation states were a thing, dictates that the genocidal government of Israel can kill whoever they want in order to take over the entire region. So Mike Huckster and Benjamin Netanyahu agree on this. Netanyahu and his Likud party have endorsed the idea of Greater Israel, which consists of a much, much larger genocidal apartheid ethno-state. You know, I've always said, you get a Huckster and a Yahoo together, that means trouble. Israel didn't wait around to use the war on Iran to steal other territory. They quickly invaded Lebanon, amplified the siege of Gaza in order to starve the survivors, and started a total closure of the West Bank, which they're in the process of ethnically cleansing. Every one of these actions by Israel and the U.S. is a crime against humanity. Every one is illegal under international law. Every one is immoral. Every one is a war crime. But luckily, there's a god or two who are apparently signing off on it all. While both Israel and the Pentagon believe they're in a holy war, it seems they disagree on what the end goals are. Israel believes their sky god gave them the right to the Middle East and to kill anyone in that region who gets in their way. Christian nationalist Secretary of Defense and man who's tattooed like a white supremacist teenager, Pete Hegseth, and his sky god believe, like many evangelical Christians, that the reason Israel needs to take over the entire region is because their favorite book says that the Jews must be there for the end times to come. Oh, well, that ain't so bad. They want the Jews and everyone else to enjoy a good time in a heavenly utopia. Sure, they have to murder 1 billion innocent people to get there, but otherwise, seems kind of nice. Well, about that. They think that in the end times, everyone who doesn't believe in Jesus burns in hell. Sorry about that. So the Pentagon's Jesus warriors support Israel in order to facilitate the burning in hell of all Jews. Ironically, it's the most anti-Semitic thing anyone could ever believe. And yet Israel and the U.S. are besties in this horror show. Look, believing in things is fine. Using those beliefs to murder people, destroy whole societies, obliterate lives and livelihoods, and steal anything you want is not fun. I truly hope that's not a controversial statement. Don't be a dick. Can we make that the new universal religion? Just don't be a dick. And here are your headlines from the future. Coming up in just 3 days, we'll learn NBC News producer fondly remembering days when U.S. bombings of innocent people were primetime viewing. So true. The Nielsen ratings on this latest war in the toilet. And 1 week from now, we'll find out, in lieu of arresting anyone for the Epstein files, the Justice Department asks Epstein's clients to think poorly about themselves for at least a few months. See, so don't act like the Justice Department isn't doing anything about this. And coming up in June, we'll hear Trump demands unconditional surrender while pointing to Madagascar on Globe. Aides scared to tell him it's not Iran. I think the least dangerous next move is probably to declare war on Madagascar. I want to anger Trump. That's the show. We have a new one almost every Thursday night, but I have to ask you, was this show worth a beer? If you want to see Unredacted tonight, keep going. I hope you'll join for the cost of 1 beer a month at realleecamp.substack.com or patreon.com/leecamp. I can't do it without you. Until next Thursday, the revolution will have laughter. Keep fighting.